Good morning. Sorry, I'm running late. I have the problem right now of my house is too clean and I can't find things. So I was rushing to figure out where I was going to do this because my treadmill is packed away in my garage at my mom's house. So I cannot walk on my treadmill right now because we're in the process of moving. So yeah. And I was going to get Whatnot pulled up on my computer so I can show you guys stuff if you need me to. So let me get that pulled up. Welcome in. How's everybody doing today? I do have the show notes in there, and I believe that link that is under this first paragraph that says, let's see, community host shows. So this month, our topic was attracting and keeping buyers in your shows. And there are probably still quite a few shows that are on that topic for the rest of the month. Let me type in that link and show you what it does for you. So it's www.whatnot.com /tag /community hosts or underscore hosts. And where's the host? And then again, shows. Let me see if that'll bring it up. Probably have to type it in with the HTTP. It's not bringing it up on here. Hmm. Let me try it on a new browser. Anyway, if you can get that to work on your thing, it will give you a list of all the shows that are scheduled for the rest of the month that are on that topic. And then you can bookmark them and attend them. So, every seller has different ideas, different, um, things that are good. So the more you attend, the more ideas you're going to get. So in the auction tab, let me pin, we had this show last week, and this is what I presented. And if you go to my YouTube account, which is the third paragraph in the show notes, Draz on Whatnot is my YouTube. You can rewatch it there because we multicast on YouTube. But we talked about boosting show attendance and buyers. And the thing that I have pinned there is what we talked about. So if you want to rewatch that show, um, those are those were my pointers in that show that we talked about. Um, just a reminder, if you're new and you're feeling like you're struggling to get any momentum, keep in mind that this is the slowest time for online sales. People, are vacationing, um, doing other things during the summer, yard work, going to the beach, all those other things, and weddings, you name it, it's all happening, family reunions. So you just have a lower attendance, and people are focusing their money on other things right now. And it doesn't help that gas prices are ridiculous and some economic things are kind of in the tank. Farmer's daughter, I need info on how to enter my items for shows and pictures. Is it with the money to boost? I'm doing my first show next Tuesday. I need info on how to enter my items for shows and pictures. Well, you create listings. So it has nothing to do with money to boost it. So it's in, so are you already approved to sell? I'm assuming. So you go to Seller Hub, and then in Seller Hub, you create a listing. Okay, so I can show you on the computer. I don't have another device, another mobile device, but let me show you on the computer. All right, so you're going to go into your Seller Hub. So I'm on web version. Okay, so Seller Hub. Here's my profile, and you're just going to go into, click your icon here, and then here's your Seller Hub, this tab right there. And then in Seller Hub is, you have inventory. So you can do inventory, create a product, and then that's where you list it. In the mobile device, it's just at the bottom of your screen. There's the little, in the center of the bottom of your screen are the little four squares that create a square. Tap that and then do Seller Hub, and it will, that you'll see the little, at the very top, there's schedule a show and create a product. And then it takes you into the listing, which is similar on mobile to this. So you add photos, you add category, title, description, quantity, etc. You can change it to whether it's an auction or a buy it now item. Anyway, this is where you go through this whole process. So you may, if you haven't already, oh, you're welcome. If you haven't already gone and watched the, oh, thank you for your purchase of my um, trading card, Donna. Thank you for that. Huh. If you haven't already gone through the Seller Academy, so Seller Academy is the third starred bullet in my show notes. So open the show notes and go down to the third starred bullet that says learn about more about being a whatnot seller at selleracademy.whatnot.com. You need to go to Seller Academy and go through all their tutorials because it takes you through all those basic things of, you know, how to schedule a show, how to create listings, just all the basic stuff. So make sure you go through and do that. Welcome in. If you're just joining, read the show notes. Normally, this is my walk and talk, and I'm on the treadmill walking while I talk with you instead of in front of the camera. So you guys get to see me sans makeup, just fresh this morning. And my treadmill is packed away in my mother's garage right now. We're in the process of trying to sell our house and move. And so everything's kind of packed away. And a treadmill is just not an attractive thing sitting out in my family room when people come to see my house. So it's packed away. And I just didn't have room for it anywhere else that made sense. So that's where we're at with that. Yes, moving is horrible, but I really am trying to do it. We'll see how it works out. I mean, we've had probably about, it just went live. Our house went live Saturday, and we've already had like 7 showings. So fingers crossed. And then we already have a house we would like, but we can't really make an offer until we, oh, you're also moving in a few weeks? Did you sell and buy, or are you just a renter? Because sometimes I wish I were just a renter because home ownership has its downsides for sure. Is there a way to program the system so that when I generate shipping labels, the packing slip is not included? Yes. So on the shipping screen, let me do it on my screen so that I know, make sure I know what I'm talking about. So on the shipping screen, there is a sidebar. I can show you that without doing too much. Okay, so Donna bought a trading card in this show, so I'm just going to show you really quick. So here's your shipping screen. If you open it and see this little sidebar right there. So open this sidebar and you have lots of options. Like you can generate all labels, but it doesn't print the packing slip. But you would want to do that after you've already gone through and made sure they were all correct. So go in and make whatever changes you need, and then just see here, open sidebar, generate all labels. Okay. And it won't print the packing slip. It will just print the label. Okay. So hopefully that helps. But again, don't do that until you've gone through and made whatever changes need to be made before you print the labels. All right, let me get another window opened up here so that I can see the chat on the big screen. I will tell you, lately I love to use the web version to run my shows, so I usually have a laptop right there. But whatever updates they've been doing, the web version has a pretty bad lag sometimes, and it's um, it's hard to manage your inventory on the web version. They seem to have the mobile version more up to date and fast than the web version. So that's been kind of frustrating for me. But the web version is so much richer with the amount of tools that you have to use. So I like to share that from time to time. So I'm going to show you. So here is the screen, web version screen. And see how over here you have all these things. So, like, you can click offers, you can click that you're in the auction, giveaways, buy it now, sold. So, you have all those things there. And then you can do pending payments. So, if someone's payment didn't go through, and you want to see that before you end the show, it's not a bad idea before you end your show if you're using web to see that, because then you can remind people, because once you end the show, they can't complete their they can't complete their transaction. So if there's pending payments, or at the very least you can jot it down so that you know whose pending payment is, so that when you're trying to pack that up. Yeah, I would just say, I would look at it with not, obviously you're not going to be showing them on the screen, but you can just say something like, there's a few of you that have payments pending. We're getting ready to close up. If you want that order to go through, please check your phone for any fraud alerts, or go check and see if you need to enter an alternate payment. It happens to everybody. We understand, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But, so maybe 10, 15 minutes before you're going to think you're going to wrap it up, check that pending payment and say something like that, and then that will hopefully spur them to go in. It happens. I had it happen yesterday. It's life, things happen. So, but it does help you in the way that, because once you end the show and go to ship, there's no way to see which ones didn't go through. It's super annoying. So if you wrote it down, you'll at least know which orders didn't go through. Hey, why Delaney is raiding. Thank you so much for the raid. Let's bring up Y Delaney here. So we're going to view Y Delaney's profile if I can. All right, here is Y Delaney. Her name is Delaney, and she sells in scrapbooking and junk journaling mostly. And she has a show today at 9 p.m. Let's bookmark that. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Tuesday at 9 p.m. Thursday at 7. Pick a Puka raid train. That sounds fun. And then Tuesday the 30th. Can everyone please give her a follow and bookmark those upcoming shows? Thank you so much for the raid. Normally this would be my walk and talk, but I am in the process of trying to move, and so my treadmill is packed up in my mom's garage. All right, so we were talking about pending payments. This is the web version of the screen. Sorry, there's kind of a glare from my light, overhead light. Let me see if I turn that off if it helps, because there's a decent amount of light, morning light in here. All right, well, now you get to see my shadow. All right, so pending payments, you can see those. If I just go back to the auction tab, you can now see my auction stuff, buy it now, etc. So that's all the stuff that's on this side of the web version. Then in the center, of course, you see the view of your show. And on the web version, on a laptop or PC, you can see the actual show. So that's nice. And then over here, on the web version, you have the chat. You can change the chat to all, to questions, to buyers, to mods, and to anything that was muted. So you can change the chat to any of those options. So if I look at questions, see how, and they changed this recently. It was yellow. Now it's like this bright orange red color. It shows up a little better. Do you guys like it in that color, or do you like it in the yellow? I don't know. I'm trying to get used to the red, because the red to me meant like muted, but it's not outlined. So, all right. In fact, I missed a question. Do you recommend buy it now or auction listings in the shop? Both. I think it's important to have both. It just depends on your strategy. I'm sorry, my camera must be dirty. Let me see. The front facing camera must be dirty, because I'm getting this weird haze. Let's see. Is that a little better? It's not much better. Oh, that actually made it worse. Okay. That's well, sorry, this is a little bit of a glare. Anyway, so it's important to have both, because depending on your strategy for how you want to sell that item, auction items obviously have the potential to get you more money versus buy it now. But it's wonderful to have buy it now items, so that if someone doesn't necessarily want the items that you're auctioning in that show, they have the opportunity to also buy things out of your buy it now. Okay. So I think it's super important to have both. Quilton Mermaid, checking to see how it shows now. What is it you're checking to see? All right. And then you can switch from questions to buyers to mods to muted. So all those things. And then you can also check who's watching, and it shows hosts and mods right there. Activity, so raids, see how it shows that Delaney raided us. And then it shows that Donna purchased an item. So activity. Okay. So it like shows you all that. Then you've got your sales up here, your orders, and any tips, any shares. That's what this one is. Shares. Sorry, let me make sure I'm on the shares. And then this one is how many bookmarks you had. Okay. So that is all the stuff on the web version screen. That's why I prefer to use the web version. Um, do you compensate moderators? So not monetarily, but I do send all my moderators free products, bonus items, um, all of that. So I don't have a paid moderator at this time. Um, I haven't had anyone that has expressed that they would be able to be there consistently. And I use, my frequent customers, and it happened organically, just the people that came and supported me regularly. If you're having a hard time finding someone like that, um, I would just say network with other sellers and try and maybe set up something where, you mod for me, I'll mod for you. Or, if you get really busy and really need someone there full time, kind of ask around and see if there's someone who is interested in a little bit of compensation or at least, free product. So that's what I do. All right, let me put the camera back over. And if it's too dark, what do moderators do? So they just moderate the chat so they can, and they do have certain things, certain features they can do. I'll show you that on the web version screen. So see how there's a little backslash right in front of the chat bar. If you click on that, here's the things they can do. They can send hidden messages. They can create announcements. They can slow the chat, and then you can also raid from here, but that's a different process. And then the other things that they can do is they can actually click on someone's name. So like if Ellen, if you were being annoying, which you're not, I could click your name, and moderators can ban from live, block those two things in addition to the other stuff. So they have the power to do that. Now, a moderator, if you have people that moderate for you, you need to be very assured that they are responsible and they're not going to like just arbitrarily or just randomly block or remove people from your show. I've never had my moderators do that. They ask me first. They'll hidden message me and say, "Do you want me to, remove this person or block this person or whatever?" So I really haven't had them use that purpose, but I have had them, send me hidden messages, and they can do they can just watch for questions or comments or requests and let you know. So that's what moderators can do. And the way that little backslash works is they just click that little backslash in the chat. And then if you're going to do an announcement, you click that and then you type in the message. So I'm typing one in so you can see. So I did the backslash thing, and then see how it puts a little box around that. That's an announcement, and it stays hard, and the chat goes above it for a period of time. And so they can put messages like, read the show notes, check the buy it now, please bookmark upcoming shows. And you would tell them kind of maybe some of the messages you would like them to, put in chat. So yeah, you are welcome. Let's see. Timber Hill says, I've done everything myself. I'm trying to understand how a moderator can help from afar. Yeah, that's the main thing, is just monitoring chat and alerting you to comments or requests. I found them invaluable for that because inevitably, even though my husband helps me with shows where we work together, inevitably we still miss stuff. We miss who won the giveaway. We miss comments or requests for items. And so it really helps to have someone in chat monitoring to alert us, oh, so and so wants this item, because they can do that hidden message thing and it shows up in red. And then you're like, oh, it's really obvious. So, yeah. And if you have a husband or spouse or partner or family member or friend who's helping you, it's a little less, um, you know, necessary to have a moderator. But when you get busy, even with help, it really helps a lot. Field Trip Quilting just mentioned that Whatnot has just hit 1 billion orders. They alerted us that in an email. That's exciting, right? So I was at the Whatnot Seller Summit in April. Was it April? Yeah, it was end of April. Um, and they talked a lot about the growth of Whatnot, and it's all absolutely mind blowing to me in the 4 years that I've been on Whatnot where they have come. It's just amazing. So those of you that are newer to the platform, haven't been around a while, um, even within just the last, if you've only been on for a year, you have no clue what um, this platform has done in those short years. The platform is only, um, let's see, they went live in 2019. So 19 to 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So barely 7 years old. That's pretty new. And considering the size that they're at in that short amount of time, it's pretty mind blowing. Yeah, Whatnot is the future way of sales. I saw yesterday that the Bay, oh, we just got a raid from So Happy or So Snappy. So Snappy. Thank you for the raid. Welcome in. Let's pull up So Snappy on screen. So here is So Snappy's profile. She's a Robin. She's a doll. And she's been on almost as long as me. Let me get this centered. Oh, right there. And she's got another show today at 7:18. Lace trims, patterns, and more. Shop the bin tomorrow at 8:04 p.m. Dollar D Stash, all things crafty on Monday. Please give her a follow and bookmark upcoming show. She has tons of good stuff and she's been clearing out storage units and you can get some really good deals. And so, yeah, she has a huge inventory. So, all kinds of good stuff. And she also has lots of custom prints and really cool things. So, make sure you're following her and give her a bookmark on those shows. Robin, appreciate you. All right. Let's see if I just missed a question here. Going back to questions. Let's see. Field trip quilting mentioned something that someone's asking about. Let's see. Let me find that comment. Distributors. Oh, we're talking about distributors. Let's see. Some fabric distributors won't approve new accounts if you sell on Whatnot. Yes, that is correct. For some reason, they have all decided that. Well, I think probably the biggest thing is that the quilt shops are complaining because they feel like they're losing too much business to online sales. Um, I think it's interesting because the wholesalers have been selling to fabric sellers on the handmade platform that starts with an E for years now, and nobody ever complained with them about them selling on that platform. And I'm sure there were some on the Bay as well. But we've made a huge impact because the sell-through rate on Whatnot is so much faster. And so now the quilt shops are complaining about that. And so that's their bread and butter. That's their longtime customers. So they do kind of have to pay attention to that and listen to them. I think it will all iron out. So they're putting requirements in place, like you have to have an independent website or a brick and mortar store for them to want to give you a wholesale count. And then they also have a minimum, or they call it MAP pricing, that they want everybody to sell at when something is newly released. And on Whatnot, we like to do a little bit lower start. So they're kind of upset about sellers who are not selling things at MAP pricing. Although they seem to be making exceptions for some of the bigger sellers and not cutting them off. So I don't know exactly how that's working. Because I do see bigger sellers um, not starting brand new releases at MAP pricing. I said if I have something that's a new release, I do MAP pricing. So yeah, it's because they have a website and they can get around that, I guess. So um, for those of you who are trying to get wholesale accounts um, and are being rejected, I don't know what to tell you other than be patient. I think it's going to kind of flesh out as, but also here's another thing. It has become a very crowded category now with fabric sellers, and I think people need to find a niche because too many fabric sellers selling the same stuff. Only so many of them are going to survive. That's just the fact. So find your niche, find what is works for you and focus more on that because just, you know, and there's something to be said about vintage and estate and older lines because you can sell those. You can pick up estate fabric and other fabric for pricing that you can afford to flip it and still get really good profit. And you just have to be really picky about what you pick up because you don't want to get stuck with estate items that you can't sell, But, if you get a good enough price on an estate, you can afford to let some of that go for clearance prices after you've made your profit. So, but find a niche, find the category of fabrics or items that you sell that really work for you, that speak to what you're passionate about. And, you know, and also I would say be creative about what you're selling and how you're selling it and focus more on building your audience and connecting with your audience and don't worry so much about things will work out if you do all those other things. You'll find your niche, you'll find your audience. um, and don't get all angsty about the fact that you can't get a wholesale account. It's not the end all be all, because that has its issues too, because buying wholesale is more risky because you do have to pay more for your product, and you've got to know your audience and know what to pick up and know what to buy, because if you buy wholesale and then you can't sell it, you're out a lot more money. So be really careful about that, and try other things. Retail arbitrage actually works pretty well in this category. You can find things on clearance at quilt shops, at other wholesalers who you know are getting rid of and then you can still have brand new fabric off the bolt. Okay. State sourcing is scarce in my area. I've been doing clearance at shops and online. Yeah. So, I mean, and if you can't get the inventory, maybe you need to find something else to sell, because it's all about being able to get enough inventory to make it worth it. So you've got to find what works in your area. And honestly, my advice about sourcing has always been source locally as much as possible. I mean, except for wholesale maybe, but as much as possible, because then you can see it, you can smell it, you can touch it, you can pay in person and make sure you're getting what you're paying for, because there are so many scams out there, people trying to buy pallets or wholesale lots, and from a distance, you just have no protection. Even, you may even go in there and see accolades and reviews, and they're maybe all fake. I don't know. I just know so many sellers who've been ripped off with deals that were supposed to be so awesome. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Okay. So Callie says, true. I'm experiencing that now with a wholesale jeggings I can't get rid of. Yeah. you know if you just want to destash your own stuff, that's perfect. Start with that, and that will help you learn kind of what your niche is and what sells and what doesn't sell. And maybe you're just, you know don't necessarily look at other sellers and think that you have to be this, because maybe you're just doing this part time to get enough money to justify what you spend. Maybe you just need, a little bit of extra cash. Maybe you're just having fun and socializing, and that's perfectly fine to just, do that. Stay focused on what your goals are. What would I consider the same stuff? What do you see most that's overshown? Well, I just mean like if you have 20 sellers that are all sourcing from the same wholesalers, and there's only so many new releases of fabric, then you're going to see a lot of the same fabrics, new fabrics over and over. And people only want to buy so much of the same stuff. It's like if you have 5 quilt shops in your local area and they all carry the same lines of fabric, you're probably just going to pick the quilt shop that you feel like has the best pricing and the best selection for what kinds of stuff you like. And you're not even going to support the other ones very often because it's all the same stuff. Same thing on here. If if there's 5 or 6 sellers who just carry the same lines of fabric, then it's like, which one do you like to go to? You know, I find it interesting that I see different buyers in different shows. Well, everybody shops everybody. I mean, especially quilters, if you're looking for a certain fabric. I mean, I think it's hilarious because I'll go into a show and hear someone requesting something, and then the very next day they're in my show asking for the same thing. Because if you're desperately looking for a certain type of fabric, you're shop hopping, asking, does anyone have this, does anyone have this, does anyone have this, so you hear the same thing over and over. It's kind of funny, huh? So let's see. Yeah, so there's certain popular brands like Ruby Star. A lot of sellers will have that. But yeah, everybody loves it. So, there's some brands that probably, even if there's lots of other sellers that have it, you're probably still going to be able to sell it. But then you've got, built-in competition, and who has the better marketing, the better pricing, the ability to reduce shipping, those kind of things. How do you get your buyers to find you? The thing that I have pinned on the screen, go rewatch that show. But the number one thing is you have to have a lot of shows scheduled. That is how people know that you exist, is scheduled shows. And then number two is you need to get bookmarks. And how do you get bookmarks? You network and you have multiple shows scheduled so that every time people come in your show, they can bookmark upcoming shows, because bookmark is the number one algorithm reason that someone finds your show in the first place, if they have it bookmarked. And also, you need to have listings that you have over and over in your shows. Let me show you something in the Buy It Now. If you go into the Buy It Now on your mobile device, so everybody click on the Buy It Now in your, click on the shop. And if you go into the Buy It Now, the items have a little, see that little bell with a number next to it on the screen? Can everyone see that? I can't show you on web version, it doesn't show that. But all of those little bells with numbers mean that people have marked that item, that they're interested in it. And so every time I go live and I have those same items in my shop, it actually sends a notification to the people that that item is live. So in addition to a bookmark, when you have listings that people have marked that they were interested in that item, every time you go live, it notifies those people that you are live and that that item that they were interested in. So what it does is it sends notifications, but it also, when they open the app, if there is a show they've bookmarked or an item that they've marked like that, it shows your show at the top of the search in the app. Now, if they change categories, um, from when they first open the app, it might not show yours until they're in that category. But if they're just in general for you, any shows they bookmarked or have items that you've marked, those show up first. Okay. How do you generate bookmarks? You network. You network and you share on social media. Please do not spam people with your shows on Whatnot. That's actually against terms of service, and people are actually getting booted off the app for doing it too much. So don't spam. You know what I mean by spam? That means share shows and just randomly send your show link to tons of people through the messaging system. That's against terms of service. But you should be sharing it like crazy on social media, and you need to be in other people's shows networking, and you need to be raiding, and you need to get into raid trains. It is not a There is not a simple fast way to get your bookmarks. You have to do it the old fashioned hard way, which is all those things that I just mentioned. Okay. Yeah. Let me change to questions so I make sure I'm not missing stuff. Let's see. Um, there's an addiction factor too. Yes, there's the addiction factor for sure, of people just wanting to be on here and buy. Do you feel guilty when you see a buyer spend a lot of money over and over at your shows? I find it disconcerting as a buyer when I see it. Um, I mean, it does weigh on me if I feel like there are people that I know personally can't afford it, but I can't prevent someone from, buying. I do encourage people, from time to time to set limits if they need to. Um, and sometimes if I feel like, I mean, I feel like a lot of times when I'm having shows where I'm running things at a really good discount, like the last couple of weeks, because we're moving, I feel like people are sourcing. They're sourcing to resell it either here or somewhere else. And so I don't feel guilty about that if they're buying a lot, because that's, they're using me as a source. I don't care. Once you buy it from me, I don't care what you do with it. If you're going to resell it here, resell it somewhere else, more power to you, you know. Um, but it is what it is. You can't, they're an adult. They have, you know, permission to do whatever they want with their money. So, but, if you feel like people are, spending too much, and you'll notice people will come, spend a lot of money, and then you won't see them for a couple of weeks because they probably have overspent, and you know, they deleted the app for a few days or something, you know? So you can't really, it is their own finances. Yeah. Let's see. When someone buys, how does the seller label the item bought fast enough? If you work by yourself, most of the sellers use some kind of sticker method. So you have pre-printed numbered stickers. And as you sell from a listing, you can just, put that number on there. If you have it pre-listed, it's not going to be as difficult because you pre-listed it and you can just see that item on their order and you'll be able to pull it. We use a bin system because my husband and I work together. So I sell it, I hand it to him. He creates bins for everybody, and their items just get put in their bins. And we don't have to do a sort after the fact. We just have to verify that they have the right number of items and, change, and every once in a while he screws up or I screw up and then we have to fix it. But yeah. Quilter Square, hi, welcome in. I just joined, started on Whatnot a few weeks back, but had a store for years. So you have a brick and mortar store, Quilter Square. Let's see. I left a vintage collectibles show the other day because two people were buying everything without discretion. Yeah, it does get annoying if, maybe one or two people are buying everything, but again, maybe they're sourcing. So it's none of your business what they're doing. Oh, thank you, MMM, for the tip. That was very generous of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, time and consistency are key with building your business, like Field Trip Quilting said. This is not a fast process. And honestly, the fast, if you have a goal to go from here to here in X amount of time, you have to put in the time, the hours, the effort to make it happen. It's not going to happen automatically. It's just the same as if you have a full-time job and you want full-time results, you've got to put in full-time hours. And with this kind of business, if you want full-time results fast, you're going to have to put in way more than full-time hours. This is a very, time consuming thing to do. It's just that the flexibility that you get and being your own boss, not having to clock in, not having to report to someone else, you can be flexible with when and what you do. All of those things are the perks. So you have a 1,000 square foot shop in November 2025. So is it a open to the public kind of shop? All right. It seems like that would hurt the seller if buyers are leaving the show because they can't win an auction. Well, that's true, but they're still selling. So what do you do? You know, I mean, you can't say, okay, sorry, you've spent your limit and boot them out. They're not going to come back, you know? So even though you may feel it's unfair, it's an auction style platform. It's just like if you've ever watched, like the Storage Wars or shows on TV, highest bidder wins. That's the name of the game. This is an auction website. It's not fair. It's not friendly in that sense. I think it's funny because the fabric community tends to be more friendly, and I actually have a lot of bidders who will back off and let someone else win because they're friends with them. But it's still an auction website. You have to understand that you can get outbid. And I had someone request something the other day, specifically, and so I ran it for them, and someone else outbid them at the last second. And they were probably upset about it because I only had one, but it's an auction site. If I run it as an auction, you take that risk. And if you want it, you've got to outbid. You can't just sit back and not, yeah, you just have to bid higher. It is the name of the game. So if you don't love that about it, you know, don't participate in the auction part, just buy stuff out of the buy it now, or you know it is what it is. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. Is there a phone stand that you recommend? Do you mean like a tripod? There's a really good one. The one you want has a really flexible neck, so it clips your phone in like a little clip thing, and then the arm is stiff enough but flexible enough so that you can bend your phone. I don't have a stand in here right now to show you because I'm up in my sewing room. That doesn't look like a sewing room now because we're trying to move. That's all I have set up for sewing right now. All my piles of fabric are gone, stored away. So it's an empty sewing. And but I do like my little window seat with my quilt over there. Isn't that cute? With all my little sewing boxes and pin cushions. And then the other side has shelves too. But yeah, we have everything stored away, so it's nice and clean. Doesn't look like a real sewing room. Um, let's see. Yes, custom bids help prevent that. If you really want something, put a custom bid in. And that's why you'll have, sellers that say custom bid, custom bid. Let's see. I'm excited. Trish says, I'm excited. I finally got approved to sell, and my first show is Thursday, July 9th. Oh, that's awesome, Trish. Let's go bookmark it. So everybody give Trish, let me get your, all right. So everybody give Trish a follow. Let me get you followed here. And let's view your profile. So let me click on it. All right, so here's Trish. Can everyone give her a follow? And she has a show scheduled on Thursday, July 9th. We're going to bookmark it. So, Trish, you know what I'm going to say, right? You have a show scheduled. That's awesome. And someone's telling me that it's not letting new sellers scheduled more than one show. I have a request out for that, because if that's true, Trish, can you tell me if that's true that you've tried to schedule more than one show? Because they're telling me that shouldn't be the case. So I need to report certain viewer or certain sellers by name and show them that you can't schedule more than one show. You haven't tried yet. Will you try and let me know if that's the case? Because so Buckhorn says you're new and you were able to schedule more than one. Okay, because I've had people tell me that they couldn't, and maybe they fixed it. So I'm hoping they fixed it. So Doll Clothes said I had my first show 3 weeks ago and could. Okay, good, good. All right. Let me just see the comments back here. So what Jen said, if I walked into a show and saw fabric, I'd ask to include it in the house. That's funny because I've actually in our house searching, There was a house that I went to, and she had bins and bins of fabric, and I was like, I asked my realtor, I'm like, if I, because I know they were an older couple trying to downsize. I'm like, can I ask for the fabric? She laughed at me and she was like, I guess, because anything's, realtors will tell you anything's negotiable, right? Everything's for sale. But I didn't end up, offering on that house. It wasn't the right house. But if I had, I probably would have. Let's see. Let's see. Quilter Square says, yes, we've been in business for over 40 years. We closed the brick and mortar when I had my son in 2024 because I was overwhelmed. Reopened. Oh, okay. So you just reopened. That's nice. Congrats. Congrats and welcome to Whatnot. Let's see. Can anyone win an auction? Yes, if they bid high enough. I agree on the fabric and crafting community being great at taking turns. Yes, they do that sometimes. It's hilarious. I'm looking for something personal. I'd rather support another seller than buy from a retail place. Um, Custom bids help. Yeah, we talked about that. Recently, a fabric seller shamed me because I won fabric someone else wanted. $25 purchase, and she made me feel awful publicly in a show. I'll never go back. That's horrible. Yeah, that is not, I mean, if they wanted that to be only for someone, they needed to put it in the buy it now with their name on it with no pictures. And just say, Sally's bundle or whatever. They should not have run it as an auction if they weren't wanting, other bidders. That's horrible. Yeah. Or say, and even this is risky, but you could say and have your moderators say, no one else bid. This is a bundle for so and so that I reserved for them or whatever. Otherwise put it in the buy it now. Let's see. Yeah, that really is annoying if that happened. Let's see. Maybe set up a preview show beforehand to drive more traffic. A preview show beforehand. What was that comment um so like a preview show. Oh, I see what you're saying. So like have a show that you schedule and it's just a preview of what you're going to sell in your actual live show later. Yeah, but at the same time if people bother to come, aren't they going to want to buy it right then? So I think that would be mixed. It might help you as a brand new seller just to get some bookmarks, but you risk people not coming back and you risk, them being annoyed that they can't just buy it right then. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. I can't figure out how to do the custom bid fast enough. Yeah, if people are running 10-second auctions, it's pretty hard, but it works better on a mobile device for sure. But you can just instead of trying to put in a number, you hit the custom bid and then just hit the plus sign really fast. And then that just bids it up. You just have to be careful because sometimes you get a little bit too happy with that plus sign and go higher than you want it. Let's see. I'm lucky to have time to choose houses go here in one weekend. Remind me where you live, Field Trip. Utah is a pretty hot market too, but it is we've been like the highest in the country for like years, and it's finally actually settled to more of a buyer's market right now, which is good for buying, not so great when I'm trying to sell as well. But yeah, that's what it was definitely here when we bought this house that we're in, because we bought this house in 2020. And you literally had to make an offer almost on the spot. And, you know, give full price or above full price offers to get a house. It was crazy. Yeah. You put in over 12 offers. Oh my gosh. So right now you're going to move into your mom's until you can find something. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no friends in an auction. Well, there are, but you have to kind of be the friend that allows the friend to outbid you and still be friends, right? Let's see. The only time I was upset at being outbid was when one of the owners of the company won the auction. Why didn't he just pull it out beforehand? Wow. Okay, that's weird because technically they're not allowed to bid if they're on the same. You can actually get flagged for shill bidding if you're bidding on the same account or if your mobile device is on the same address. You're not allowed to bid, so that's kind of weird. You can list the fabric under the auction tab so buyers can see what you're selling in that show. Yes, pre-list your items. So, who was in my show yesterday? Raise your hand if you were in my show yesterday. Bat Mom was there. Yep, Bat Mom was there. Um, I had a lot of fabric pre-listed, didn't I? And until the website decided to crash, we were just running off of pre-bids mostly. So people were going in, seeing what they wanted, putting a pre-bid on it, and then I knew exactly what people wanted, and that was what I was running. I like to do that with the new off bolt fabric. It does take time to list it, but once you've listed it, when you got that new bolt, if you list it, it's listed until it's sold out. So I like to pre-list my new fabric because then people see what you have and they come to your show because they want that fabric. Yeah, and then you pre-bid so you don't have to wait as long for it to be run and you don't have to request it in chat. I was just checking pre-bids and running them as they were being bid on. Okay. Um, let's see. Ellen says it was a different account, but he shares in the income. He walked into the show area and picked it up to take home. Wow. Good morning, Andy. How are you? P. Tiffany, I've noticed a lot of bugs in shows lately. The sellers have been having a lot of issues with their bin disappearing. Yeah, it's been super annoying. They're doing lots of updates right now. Um, and when they're doing updates, here's a tip, and I sometimes forget to do this too. I'm supposed to be the pro. But before you go live every day, go in and make sure your app is updated. So literally go to the app store because even if you have automatic updates turned on, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to run that update, especially if you're using the app. So go to the app store and make sure your app is updated before you go live. And then do the same thing on the web where you just go in and refresh the app, especially if you had it open, turn it off, reload it so that everything's up to date because that will help. That will help because then you've already got the updates loaded. Yesterday was crazy with that crash mid show. It literally, changed my whole show trajectory because everybody kind of had to leave because the whole app crashed. And then when we were able to go, I mean, it was only 10 minutes, but you lose your whole audience, go live again, and hope people come back. Yeah. So it was a bummer. All right. I mean, the people that had already ordered, most of them came back because they wanted to be able to continue to get bundled shipping. But yeah, it was super annoying. You were also live when that happened. Yeah, it was so annoying. Let's see, P. Tiffany, from what I've seen, it's almost always on their computer from the website. It's made me hesitant to have shows until they figure out the updates. Yeah, I mean, it just comes with the nature of the beast. And honestly, compared to about 3 years ago, um, 3 years ago, it happened more frequently. And there were a couple of times where the app was actually down for hours at a time. And that hasn't happened in forever. So they're doing a much better job of, you know, keeping it up to date, keeping things running, and so on. Field Trip says it was weird. My show kept running, but for a while it said I had too much traffic. I had to laugh because there was 12. Yeah, mine said the same thing. And my own phone was saying in the waiting room, too many people trying to enter the show or something like that. And same thing. I looked up and I had like 10 or something in there. I'm like, yeah, right. Um, oh, you got that message when you were trying to load a show? Yeah, it was probably just the overall app. So for whatever reason, maybe one of their servers, my guess is one of their servers went down. And so then it couldn't handle the amount of traffic that was trying to be with a down server. That's my guess. Let's see. So I noticed yesterday and the day before that I was unable to start flash sales before the show went live because I usually like to go in right before my show starts and have some of the flash sales already running, and it wasn't letting me do that. So I have a request out there about that because that's super annoying. And we all want the ability to not only start them, but start multiple flash sales at the same time. That's another request that's out there. So hopefully that gets fixed as well because I couldn't start my flash sales until after I went live. And it's interesting because I know Cheap Girl Fabrics, who does a lot of flash sales, um, had a glitch where it was with her inventory because people were going into the shop before she went live and buying some of those buy it now fabrics. And then she didn't realize they had bought it. And she would go in to do her because she would look at the piece of fabric she had right before she went live to see how many units she had and then would start from there. And so she was overselling it accidentally, not realizing people had bought before she went live. So she said something to customer service about that. And their comment to her was, well, you should probably be running it as an auction instead. So they were like, you should be, because auctions potentially get you more money. So I'm kind of wondering if they are, regretting the flash sale thing a little more because the flash sales, are usually a discount. That's what the purpose of a flash sale is. And maybe there's not as many auctions going on as they would like. So I thought that was an interesting comment. Is there a limit to the amount of flash sales you can run? Not that I know of. Because I've had shows where I went in and started the flash sale before my show, before the other day when I can't do it anymore, and have my entire bin on flash sale during the entire show. And I've never had a limit. So, I mean, I don't remember how many I had, but it was probably in the upwards of like 40 or 50 items running. Well, and along with flash sales, she went to run the fabric and it ran for $1 instead of the price it was supposed to run it. Oh, whoa. That was messed up. So yeah. Be careful with that because you don't want flash sales running at $1. Yeah. All right, let me put all my comments back on. I had it on questions here. Welcome in, welcome in. If you have any questions, put them in chat with a question mark so they show up in bold. Trying to stay up there with that. Let me put the screen back over on me and catch up here. Yeah, it has been really buggy. I think they're using the slower sales season during the summer to do a lot of updates. Lots of things coming down the pike. I haven't heard the big announcement of the one that they were telling us about yet. They were telling us about one that's coming out in June that should be pretty exciting. It will be a new way for us to promote shows and have a different type of show, but I haven't seen anything about that coming out yet. So I'm excited to see that. I'm part of the community support team for Whatnot, and we meet. Well, we have a couple of chat groups that we contribute to. We also contribute to a like a Google Docs spreadsheet where we put um, requests and comments and feedback. And then we also meet every other month in person on a Zoom, and we can contribute to things. And they kind of give us, top secret access to some of the things that are coming down the pike. And we always get beta. We get to beta test a lot of things, which is nice. So there's a lot of exciting things coming that I can't tell you about, but that I can, hint that there's some good stuff coming. And that's partly why there's lots of bugs, I think, because they're doing lots of beta tests, they're experimenting with things, they're, downloading updates, and it causes problems. So be patient with that. Um, it is what it is. Front Porch says, I feel like one of the new things is something similar to Not Bot. I was in a seller Q&A and she hinted at that. Okay, there you go. That will be awesome, right? Let's see. Oh, you're welcome, Ellen. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy, helping other sellers grow. My husband thinks it's funny and he tells me all the time, you've trained all your competition and people have now surpassed you. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I want everyone who wants to be successful. Because here's the thing, you're only successful if you put in the work. So I can sit here and tell you all, give you tips, give you hints, tell you things that will work, help you out. But if you're not able and willing to put in the work, you're not going to be successful. So those who have come on the platform, followed the advice that I've given, and are successful, that makes me happy. I think there's room for everybody that really wants to put in the effort to make it work. Because I still think, I mean, it's still not a household name. Whatnot is, oh, yeah, and my competition continues to support me and buy from me. That's true. Um, there if you go out in public and talk about Whatnot, how many people actually have heard of it? I still, just in general, nobody knows about it still. So what does that tell you? It tells you that there's still a huge amount of opportunity for growth on the platform. So if you want to be successful on the platform, you can be. You just have to put in the work. Could you please ask the developers to make a bookmark button larger? Amen to that, Laura. I think that has been requested. It is a problem though. I mean, you think about a mobile device and the amount of space you have to try and fit so many things in there. But yeah, I'm with you because you hit that bookmark and what does it do? Take you into the show, kicks you out of what you were doing. Super annoying. What I would prefer is maybe they make it round instead of vertical because then I think the finger touch would maybe if they made it more like a little maybe the bookmark looks like a little banner instead of just a stripe, a rectangular, maybe that would help. So yeah, I can make note of that again. So I will screenshot that and request it again, because yeah, it's super annoying that it always kicks you out. And maybe my fingers just don't respond properly. But let me plug my phone in so I don't go dead on us here. Maybe that's a challenge. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, I think we still have a ton of potential for growth on the platform if you want to work hard. Let's see. Yes, I've been really wanting a way to get notifications from the individual seller you pick, not every single one that you follow. So yeah, bookmarks, um, you know, follow all the sellers to be nice about following, but then you can be a little bit more careful about, um, the bookmarks, because the bookmarks are the ones that make the shows show up for you. So, and are the ones that you get notified about. Okay. Let's see. Might just be my old eyes, but the thumbnails are hard to read sometimes. Would be nice if you could click on them to make them larger. Yeah, I can see that. Or if you could zoom in, maybe. Maybe if you use an iPad instead of your phone, that would help. Yeah, I follow a lot too. Although I got to where I just, some sellers don't follow a lot of people, and I'm like, why not? But I can see you get a lot of notifications, but I just have my notifications set a certain way so that I don't get so many, because it's hard if you're a seller. Field trip. I was in the Whatnot Live the other day. They said the best thumbnails that convert the most are real pictures of the product. Yes, they said that at the Whatnot Seller Summit. And I struggle with that because that means you have to really be prepared with fabric. I used to do a little bit better. Right now, I suck at it. I'm moving. But those were the shows that I got a lot of traction in when I what I was doing actually is having my normal thumbnail, but I put videos on my show the day 24-hour. This is what I was telling everyone to do. So if you really want to see if this works for you, try it out. What I was doing is I was 20 within 24 hours. I would say probably 12 hours is even better, but 24-hour period of time somewhere in there, have your shelf set up, your shelf or your table or whatever it is you're going to sell that for that show. If you can get it set up in that time and then do a video and put the video on the show and that actually shows the products you're going to sell for that show, you flip through it, you have music, you have cute. I was using TikTok to do it because you can go on TikTok, speed up the video, and put cute music on there, put a title on it, and then that video is on your show before you go live, showing the exact fabrics that you're going to sell. And when I started doing that, my bookmarks doubled. So try it and see what you think. Let me know how it goes for you. I'm not being lazy right now. I'm just trying to move. And so I actually haven't put a video on a show in months, which is terrible because I'm supposed to be, everybody's example of what to do. And I'm the example of what not to do right now because I'm just so busy. I'm just trying to get into a house that has a better layout and better situation for our business, because the house that we're in right now it's actually 4 levels. It's a really big house. It has a lot of room. I have lots of places to put things, but we're old and we have to go up four, if depending on what we're doing. We have 4 different sets of stairs to go to different rooms, And it's just crazy. We can't keep doing it. It's driving us nuts. So we're just trying to get a better house with a better layout for our business. Um, that's the simple answer. So yeah. Let's see. You're an example of what of that life happens and we have to find ways to do everything at once. Yeah, exactly. You roll with the punches, and it is what it is. Let's see. Missy says, I'm brand new. Well, welcome in, Missy Miss. And let me make sure I'm following you because if I'm not, I will get you followed. So that's the first thing is to follow Missy Miss. Okay, got you followed. Can you tell me the best way to do shipping for shows? Do you do you do max shipping or buyer pays all? And do you ever use flat rate boxes? Okay, so answer number one, best way depends on what you sell. So, Missy, I think you've been in my shows. Are you going to sell fabric? So tell me what you're going to sell in chat. Clothing. Okay, clothing is a whole different ballgame. So it depends on what you sell. Let me pin something in chat here that will help you. So in my auction tab, I have a thing that says, so let me get this pinned. All right, choosing basic shipping settings. So that's pinned. Tap it and tap it again. And stairs are horrible for animals. Well, I don't have any pets, but let me tell you, they're horrible for these animals that live here. Me and my husband, our knees, our hips. I mean, it's good exercise, but if I weren't selling, I would just stay in my house. But trying to haul fabric in bins up and down stairs and haul bolts and to do my cutting I mean it's too much. I can't do it anymore. So that's why. Okay. So that's pinned. Take a screenshot of that. And then what I will say is most of the clothing sellers are doing this. They are putting custom shipping profiles in, and it depends on what you sell. If you sell bulkier items, jackets, jeans, sweaters, coats, that's a whole different thing than lingerie or just little tops or leggings. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of figure it out. But most clothing sellers that I know of are using what are called custom shipping profiles. And they have like, maybe they have a listing that is tops and you can fit 5 or 6 tops in a flat rate box before it needs to go to another box. And so they have a custom shipping profile for a flat rate box, 5 items, and they put right in the listings and in their show notes that you can buy up to X number of items before it will restart the shipping. I'm going to tell you, probably go watch, and I'm going to tag her in chat. Julie Becker, because she sells clothing and she does seller chats, and she will be better suited to tell you what works for clothing than I can because I don't sell clothing. But she can probably tell you, bam, this is how many, because she sells like t-shirts and shirts, and she mostly sells tops, but I think she does some other stuff too, but she'll be able to help you the best with that. But max shipping does help you get more customers who are willing to buy because then they can get a flat rate, um, shipping. So max shipping always helps to get more customers. But if you can do a custom profile where X number of items, that will still help because they at least know I can get this many items before I have to pay additional shipping. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Stacy says, let's see, you're creating videos on TikTok and then putting the video in your show's thumbnail. Yes. So you go to TikTok and create a video, and then you can download it, or it automatically downloads it to your photos sometimes, or sometimes you have to download it. But then you just save that little video. You just need to make sure it's less than 30 seconds, and then you have it saved in your videos on your phone, and then you just put it as the thumbnail video on your show. So then not only is it showing your product, but you can speed it up and you can add little titles and graphics and music. And so then it makes it more fun. So yeah. What goes around, understand that we purposely bought two levels, and my husband is cursing that because he is older than me, not just by number. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard going up and down stairs for that. And if I weren't selling on Whatnot and moving bins of fabric, I would just keep the house. It's fine. I don't mind going up and down stairs. It's just the hauling stuff and up and downstairs that's killing me. Let's see. Think of how much you can afford for each order. If you sell 37 orders, can you afford $37? You could make it a $1 discount. Oh, she's responding to Front Porch. Let me see what Front Porch said. Let's see. Did I miss yours, Front Porch? How do you calculate how much cheaper you can go than 921 in shipping? Oh, yeah. Perfect answer from Bougie. Yeah, so you just calculate how much you can afford, and then you discount it to what you can afford to do. So yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, and I mean, think about it this way. If you typically have, just like she said, if you typically have 37 orders and you're like, okay, I can afford to cover $1 of their shipping, then make it 821. Because then that's what and you've budgeted for that in your marketing. You're like, okay, this is what I can afford to do, and discount it that way. Um, and honestly, it can help. Is it the end all be all? No, because if you don't have what people want to buy, or you haven't properly, curated your show, it may or may not make a difference. Because people, even though you have offer discounted shipping, if you don't have a lot of stuff people want, I would say that's, super important too. Because so don't offer discounted shipping if you haven't carefully curated a show and feel like it's on point and people are going to want your stuff. It just is an incentive to have people buy more, but make sure that there's enough of more that they want to buy. Does that make sense? So, one of the things that I've really learned in this process of selling on Whatnot is um, you get really picky about what you source, because you start learning what sells, what doesn't sell. And I know sometimes when you're buying out an estate or something, you can't be super picky because it's, take it all or leave it all. But, even then you can go through it and go, okay, these are the things that I'm going to, auction here. You can even donate some of it ahead of time and not even have to deal with it. And you can, separate out the items that you're going to sell at a discount later. So be careful about curating your show so that you have a decent amount of stuff people are going to want. A curated show really does make a big, big, big difference, because people like to come into a show knowing kind of what you have and what you're going to sell based on what your thumbnail says, what you've pre-listed, and they're there because they want what you have. And people just don't have the patience anymore, especially with how much competition there is. They don't have the patience to sit through 3 hours of your show waiting to see if they have something, or if you have something they want. They're not going to stick around. So make sure that you've got a really good representation in your auction, pre-listed or on the thumbnail, in the pictures, in the videos of what you're actually going to be selling so that people are willing to come spend some time with you because they know they want what you have. Does that make sense? Um, do you choose flat rate or ground advantage for over 5 pounds? I personally do flat rate for everything because it works for fabric. It doesn't necessarily work for other things that people sell. So you have to decide if it works for you. Um, let's see. Katie says, this is my question as well. Is it better to choose flat rate or ground advantage for over 5? Yeah. So again, it just depends on what you sell. Um, and if you're newer and if you have the problem of having a bunch of people that, everybody only buys one or two, and then you have someone that just buys and buys and buys. If that's a constant problem, you could switch to, you know, ground advantage over 5 pounds. But then the problem with that is if you're doing the 921 max, you as the seller are paying the higher rate on ground advantage as well, because it then flips their over 5 pound order to the ground advantage rate. And instead of you having to pay 921 as well, on the back end, if you have to unbundle that order, you've now paid the higher ground advantage rate. And that's why I think it's more advantageous to just keep everything at flat rate if you can, so that if you have to unbundle that order, then the max you're going to pay, if it automatically unbundled it, is the 921. Does everyone are you following me on that one? So, because if you have everything set at flat rate and max 921, if they bought too much and you have to unbundle their order into separate boxes or change it to ground advantage, then they only had to pay 921 and you only have to pay the difference between the 921 up to the ground advantage rate. Okay. Unbundling means that they bought too much, it won't fit in one package. And so you either are separating that order into multiple orders, multiple boxes, or putting it in a bigger box instead of the flat rate box. You can choose which one works. Okay. Let's see. Bougie says, I always just have a mix of everything. I source from fabric estate sales mainly and buyouts. So it's always a mystery print coming next. Yeah. And that's kind of your model. And that works because you're established and people come for the mystery, for the search. And I kind of do that a lot too. But when you're a newer seller, um, it depends. It depends. If you do source that way and you sell low starts, it can work. If you're trying to be a new seller and do a slower model and you source from estate sales and you aren't going to do the churn and burn, it's more important to have a curated show because then people know what's coming. So what's the difference? Okay, so what am I talking about here? I'm talking about if you have a business model where you want to go from zero to hitting the stars in 6 months or something, and you're buying out huge lots and you just want to churn and burn, that then a curate show is less important. People love to come to your shows because of the fun of the search, the fun of the find, fun of the mystery, right? But if you're a seller who's at a slower pace, you're buying smaller lots and you aren't churning and burning, you need to have a curated show so that people see what you're going to have. Or if you're sourcing new fabric, I think pre-listing it so people know what you have off the bolt is a big deal too. So it just depends on your model, what you're doing. Uh, let's see. Whatnot put someone's order in 6 different pages and I was able to put it into 2 flat rate boxes. So Doll Clothes by Vicky, that means you have your shipping settings set for probably priority and ground advantage, and it's going by weight. So you need to make very carefully sure that you're selling under the correct weight so that it doesn't unbundle their order so much, because people aren't going to come back if they're seeing that they're having to pay all these separate shipping. They're not going to come back. They're going to be upset about all the extra shipping they're paying. So make sure your weight is correct and when you sell it, and make sure that your shipping settings make sense for what people are buying. All right. Ellen says my plan is to start selling off our various disparate collections, so curated show is a good idea. Yeah. Okay. And Bougie says that piece of fabric you've been hunting for years. People like me may have it. Exactly. Um, you did have max shipping set, so it shouldn't have unbundled it so much, so that there's something wrong in your settings. So, well, if you had it set for 921, but you had your shipping settings set for priority and ground advantage, then you're paying too much of their shipping if it's unbundling it all. Because that means you paid, if it unbundled and had 6 different orders for that person, and you had to bundle them back together, the only reason it would unbundle them is if you had your shipping settings not set at flat rate. Okay. So really think through and put it correctly. So see that thing I have pinned with the choosing basic shipping settings? Take a tap that and tap it again, make a big picture and take a screenshot of it and read through that. And then also you can go to my YouTube channel, which is in the show notes, and watch the shows that are on my lives. Um, just go into the YouTube channel, go to lives, and watch the ones that are all called Don't Sink Your Shipping. They have a little shipping emoji on them. There's 4 of them out there now. The newest one is from last month. Oh, well, thank you, Bougie. I appreciate your comment. I don't have ground advantage. It's set at flat rate. So you have both 1 to 5 pounds and 5 pounds and over set at flat rate. I wonder if you didn't have it set that way on a previous show, and when you updated your shipping settings, you didn't tell it to update it to existing shows. So when you update your shipping settings, make sure you check that little box so at the bottom before you save, so that it saves it to existing shows if you want it to. So, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure because it shouldn't have unbundled them into 6 different orders if you had it set up that way. Let's see. So if you want to offer the 921 max, what do you set your shipping settings at? So if you're a brand new seller, it may not let you, but if you want to offer that and it lets you, go into your shipping settings, and in the setting where it says, let me show you on the computer. So under Seller Hub and shipping, you're going to go into shipping profile, or not shipping profiles, shipping. Let's see. Let's see, on web version. Where is it? I'm so used to using mobile for everything that I get lost on the web version when I'm trying to do something. But I can't show you on mobile because I don't have another device on mobile right now. Let's see. Does it even let you see it on web version? Let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm feeling stupid because I can't remember where to see it on here. Oh, so well, on your mobile, just go to Seller Hub, and then on your shipping settings, um, then it's under the section that says, it's titled shipping cost, and it's either set to buyer pays all or buyer pays up to max, and then you would put in the amount. So if you can find that, that's where you put it. So if you're going to do the buyer pays max 921, it's buyer pays up to max, and then you fill in the amount, and that's where you would put 921. But if you're brand new, it might not let you choose that. And so the way to sort of get around that is just by doing flat rate, and buyer pays all, but it's only going to charge them 921 because you have it set at flat rate, flat rate. Does that make sense? Okay. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. Please read the show notes. If you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark. I'm probably going to wrap it up here in about 10 minutes. Um, my auction tab is loaded with all kinds of cheat sheets and tip sheets and information. My show notes are loaded with information. So please take a screenshot of the show notes, especially those starred bullets. My YouTube account is in there, and all of the official links to get help on whatnot are those starred bullets that are in the show notes. So make sure you get a screenshot of that. And then in the auction tab, I just have all kinds of um, cheat sheets about different topics. So you can just scroll through the auction tab, tap the picture, tap it again, have it big on your screen, and you can take screenshots of any of those things that are in there. So I've just been answering questions about different things. And then any of my past shows that were topic specific, you can go to my YouTube account and watch them under the lives. And if you missed them. All right, let me go back to my screen and see if anyone has any other questions that I've missed. Let's see. I think I've got all the questions that were in there. If you made a comment and didn't put a question mark on it, I might have missed it. So repeat it with a question mark if you want me to respond to it. And welcome in. All right. So I'm not seeing anything else. Um, any other comments or questions you want me to talk about before we go? Please bookmark upcoming shows. The walk and talks are on my schedule, but until I get my treadmill back up, which could be months, because we're in the process of selling and buying, I'll probably just come on like once a week and do these chats in front of the camera. And then I'll get back on my walk and talk schedule once I have my treadmill back up somewhere. You are so welcome. You're so welcome. Lots of other sellers on the community support team who do really good seller chats. In the show notes, there is a link, and it may be outdated, but I'm pretty sure that's the link where it's under the first paragraph. It's just a link that says community host shows. If you use that link, it should take you to a screen where it has multiple shows listed that are scheduled for the rest of the month that are on the topic for the month. And this month, our topic was attracting um, attendance and buyers in your shows. And so there's going to be shows for the rest of the month on that. Let's see, any help you can give us on your schedule. Oh, yeah, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. I just, try to do as much as I can to help the community. I think it's important. Whatnot really is about community. Um, and if you want to really grow and be part of Whatnot, it's so much easier and so much more fun and so much more rewarding if you do things that support the community of Whatnot versus just trying to be on your own. One of my favorite sellers on the platform is House of Coop. They do an amazing job with seller chats, and they mostly what I love is their Facebook because they have all kinds of good tips they post regularly, and they sell in a totally different category. But I get amazing ideas and thoughts about how to improve from them. So follow House of Coop if you don't already, and follow them on Facebook because they give lots of good advice. And those of you that are in the vintage category, vintage is what it is on Whatnot, partly right now because of House of Coop in a great amount of, in a big way because they've really brought the vintage community to where it's at. And there's some other awesome sellers that have also contributed hugely to that were there before House of Coop that really built it up. But yeah, they've done an amazing job. All right, I need to go. Let's go find someone to raid. Today my show is um, craft items, so we're gonna go find someone who's selling in the craft category. Let's go see who's on doing crafty stuff. So, scrapbook, junk journal, that kind of stuff is what I'm selling today. So, we'll go see who's out in that category, scrapbook and junk journaling, and go rate someone. Oh, I haven't rated my friend Abstractory. She's fun. She's live. Let's go rate Abstractory. So here we go. She's doing scrapbooking, journaling. Oh, she's on a raid train, so that makes it even funner. All right, so we're gonna go raid into a raid train. Abstractory on a raid train. Here we go. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you for the tip. Thank you for the purchase. Appreciate you. Have a great